welcome back to the Tales of TIC podcast. Today we have a super special guest joining us, Denelise. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Thomas.
Denelise is an industry leader within the TIC industry, having spent the last 4.5 years running BSI's continental European operations. Denelise is also the chair of the advisory board of Women in AI Netherlands, giving us a quick insight into her passion around technology. Previously, Denelise was the executive director for the Total International Business at OCLC, a shared technology provider, and has also led commercial functions at companies such as Autodesk. Denelise, again, is passionate about technology and also building high-performance teams. It's a pleasure to have you on, and I'm looking forward to getting into it today. So the first question that we have for you is, could you please share some pivotal moments or experiences that have shaped your professional career?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. We start right away with the interesting question because there's so many pivotal moments in my career right now. And I think if you ask every leader, they will say the same thing. Maybe the most important pivotal time is when I was younger and got my first managerial role. And I made a bit of a mess of it at the time because I had no idea how to do leadership at all at the time. And I thought you read a book and then you can do it. At first I gave up. And then later, actually, when I joined Autodesk, I got a very good manager who said, well, then at least leadership is something you also have to learn. So I got the right training and I really started to enjoy that leadership journey. And it was there that I discovered that it's a journey forever. It's not something you do, you learn, you're done, you can do it. You start with it and you learn till the day you die. And the more you get on this journey, the more and more it becomes a journey of getting to know yourself personally, which is sometimes quite challenging.
For sure. Well, just in general then, how do you think your background has shaped your approach towards the TIC industry?
Yeah, I come with the technology lens. I don't have a background in the TIC industry before the 4.5 years now I'm working in here. So I really come with a tech and innovation mind. If you look at the TIC industry, nobody will deny that this industry is not, if you put it on the line of digital transformation, it's not on the top of the line. It has started to move now. We've seen that over the last years, but this whole industry is still at the beginning of its digital journey. So I think what I bring to this business is the tech and innovation view.
That's interesting. And what do you think why do you think the TIC industry is behind in general if you compare it to other industries in tech?
Yeah, it's a very regulated industry, and we have some big traditional businesses there. It's also, and what I mean with regulated industry is there are lots of countries with their own local regulation. There's EU regulation. In Asia, there's different regulation. In America, there's less regulation. So, what you see is companies have to stick to what the notified bodies and accreditation bodies also tell them to do. So naturally, the innovation is slower. Also, it is a high risk business, right? We're providing in the TIC industry testing, inspection, certification for installations, for how people run their businesses, for cybersecurity. So you just cannot go off and pilot innovation very quickly without looking at what does it mean for the trust in all those certificates and all these assurance we provide.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. In regards to your job then, which part do you find most rewarding?
Yeah, it's basically two things, and it relates to your previous question. I think what I find most rewarding is to build leadership teams, um, to build uh, and to me, a leadership team is collective intelligence, right? A full functioning team which really collaborates well together, not individuals who are great at something, but the team who collaborates together as a well-oiled machine, and also enjoying then the celebrations together if something goes well. And for that, there's a lot of individual development with people too, and I very much enjoy the part. I enjoy the part if I see people succeed, if they can use their talent in the most optimized way, so they're happy at doing what they do. And there's still a lot of what you see in corporate a lot is still a lot of people who do what they don't specifically like to do, what they're not the best at. And I love to find out what they are the best at. And then you see the business fly. You see the people fly and you see the business fly. To relation to your previous question, what I find very interesting about this business is to find that delicate line of what you can do within the regulation and still innovate, right? And it's not because we need to innovate to innovate. We need to innovate to make sure that we go with our times and that we increase the value we deliver to our clients. And to look there, what is allowed within the regulation, within the possibilities we have, and to find the space, and also to see if we can influence some of our stakeholders in this business to see to try new things. That also is to me very, very rewarding.
This next question will relate back as well towards technology. But how do you think digitalisation and automation is impacting the TIC industry, and what opportunities does it present to companies operating in the space?
Yeah, digitalization, automation is impacting every company and every industry at the moment, and just as well the tech industry. Um, what do you see most? The opportunity we have is probably threefold. You can look at improving your operational processes with it, your processes in general with it. Where can automation play a role here? Again, it all is about increasing the value to our client in the end. You can talk about doing some pilot projects to deliver new services, and you can think about innovation in the most disruptive part to do things completely different. And those are the areas we can look at. And it's for companies to decide also in this industry, am I going to take all three of them? So really look at the disruptive part. We probably have to, because otherwise some new companies will might disrupt our business longer term. So you have to start looking at it, and then it's always good to look at how can I increase the value for our client and how can innovation play a role with that and come up with new services. And then on the operational side, at the same time, we can optimize what we do today by using technologies. There are a lot of opportunities out there.
Just out of interest, and I guess from my perspective, speaking to leaders all across the industry, it's not something that comes up a lot for me in conversations. Would you say that it's an afterthought within the industry in the boardrooms typically, or is it a real focus in this space by companies to try automate and digitalize?
Yeah, probably it differs per organization. In this industry, but in every industry, it differs per organization. I think the discussion is there. I'm also part of a group of non-executive directors, a network, and what you can see also on the advisory boards, the executive boards, the discussion is there, but the level of discussion it differs per company, not even per industry. Some industries maybe are more disrupted than others faster, so they have to talk about
Mm.
what does this technology mean for me, and to what I said earlier, this is quite a regulated business, right? We have to stick to what we need to do as certified as certification bodies, as notified bodies, and it's the accreditation bodies, it's the governments who decide what we can do. So we can afford that probably this discussion takes a little bit longer in the tech industry overall. Still, the discussion is there. Um, it is always difficult to see the balance between you're running big P&Ls, right? You have to
Yeah.
make sure that you have business continuity.
Mm.
So anything you do to disrupt your business, it can have an effect on your bottom line. You have to make an investment. This is also a business where we operate very lean, so you have to make the right decisions.
I think it'll play a role in talent, right, as well, because some of the pockets in this industry are the growth is bottlenecked by the availability of talent because you need
Yeah.
such high skills to do certain tasks, and digitalization, AI, automation will hopefully mean that you won't need that PhD to look at that graph. There's something that will tell you sort of through technology or whatever it is. So, from our perspective, that's how we see it. As a staffing agency. This next question as well is a big trend, and I think probably from my side something that I see reflected in structure and organizational structure is sustainability in particular. What role is that playing, and also the environmental considerations that the TIC industry are having to look at. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, before I answer this one, it's also good
Sure.
to relates to this one to go back to the previous point you made on the access to talent,
Yeah,
right? Anywhere we have pain points at a certain point, it will be easier to innovate because we have to solve some problems.
of
And,
course.
and problems are the high skilled access to all the high skilled people we need in order to do this business. So it's an area, but it's also it is really a super opportunity there
Mm-hmm.
because the high skilled people we have with using technology can be much more effective. And you see many companies in this industry looking at that. And just to make a point, we do see progress. I don't want to give a negative impression because you do see a lot of movement on predictive analysis, on continuous improvements. So, and that is about offering new services to clients in order to get to their certification faster or to really ensure their business continuation if you have access to data and data insight. So we do see stuff happening there, absolutely. And then to your question of what opportunities does the sustainability and environmental considerations of the TIC industry. The TIC industry has to do like any other company. We have to look at the ESG goals. We have to look
Mm-hmm.
at all the regulation which is coming from the European Union now on the CSRD and stick to it. And this is an opportunity for our TIC industry because we have to deliver that assurance, right? We can help with getting the insights on how the companies are performing in this perspective and how to make it better. There's a lot of ISOs out there who help companies actually to become more sustainable and really consider how can they contribute more to a better environment and how can they stick to rules. So this offers for our industry a tremendous opportunity.
And I think dependent on the company that you look at will show what they mean by sustainability. Businesses grouping in clean energy, also with CSRD reports, etc. But I think in general, if you look at the brand of a TIC company, they should be really well positioned to push this sustainability commercial service out to market as well.
But it's also an internal consideration. It's
Yes.
both, right? It is an external. We can very much help other companies to be more sustainable in the widest sense of the world, in the word, with all of the ESG goals. We can really help companies or any other organization to look at those and to see how they can. How can we achieve those ESG goals and what we need to comply with on the regulation for CSRD? But we can also look. We have to look internally
Hmm.
on how can we become more sustainable as organizations in this tech industry. There is also an example on this for example, hybrid audits. You see a lot of those auditors who go out in assurance and travel. How much do you need to travel? There is a minimum, of course, again, due to the regulation, where you need to be on site. But for the part you don't have to be on site, you can think about disrupting your business model, which goes beyond just saying, "Oh well, now this auditor just does the work from home." You can think about how you serve actually your clients more sustainable with your high level experts who may be on site and other people who are online who work together in a team. And that is a combination of going out virtually and going out physically. And that will really help to make our industry more sustainable, but also make clients more sustainable.
And that's just you think about the headcounts of the businesses as well, and the amount of people that are doing that travel. That's just a really practical operational strategy for making the company more sustainable.
Yeah, yeah. We as the discussion is very near and dear to my heart. At the same time, we are helping our clients become more sustainable. We also have to think about doing business differently internally because, and that is what you see also in the tech industry overall. We are the example to the rest of the world, right? What we do and how we do it. If we tell others how to do it, we better do it the best ourselves.
Yeah, that's very true. Um, so we're moving back onto your career and looking back in time. And I know that you've referenced a particular early stage in your career where failure shaped your perspective, but resilience and failure, key topics and important that you've referenced. I just wonder if there's any other experiences that you just want to touch on there.
Um, Failure is necessary.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm a little bit concerned about the younger generation right now. I'm being reverse mentored by a Gen Z specialist. I had dinner with her last night. We talked about this subject. It seems, and maybe it's because of everything we see around us, it seems that uh, a failure is bad. It's not. It's the only way to go forward. We have to fail in order to get forward. And the more we fail and learn how to deal with it, the more resilient we get. And what I sometimes see with younger generations coming in is they fail and then they're completely thrown off by the fact, oh, I failed, and what now next? Well, you fail, you move on, right? So I'm a true believer in the fact that you have to fail in order to go forward. It's the same as look at children; they don't fall down once in a while. They never learn how to walk. If they don't fall with their bike a few times, that's a specific Dutch answer with everybody being on bike here. But if you don't fall off your bike a few times, you never learn how to actually use your bike and go around. So failure is super important, and it no matter how big a business is. And when to our innovation discussion and to our sustainability discussion, failure is important to learn how to go forward. So remember when the ESG goals came out, it's already a long time ago, and we talked
Yeah.
about it. Somebody looked at it like, oh my God, it's going to be impossible. Oh, electronic cars, well, it's never going to happen, especially not in certain countries in Europe. It's progressing now. Look at how many electronic cars we have, EV cars we have around in Europe, much more than we ever suspected to have at this time. Now, maybe we have some energy issues with electricity. Yes, we do, but we learn how to deal with it because we get stuck, and then we have to solve the problem. Best way
Mm.
to solve a problem is when we get stuck somewhere, because then we need to find a solution. So failure in the smallest, in the biggest sense of the word, it is really necessary to become to learn and to become more resilient.
Thank you. So, yeah, similar sort of style question, I guess, but everyone is a person, and I think this podcast is important because it brings out that side of each leader in the industry. But do you have strategies or techniques that you're able to use to sort of manage stress and maintain mental well-being?
Yeah, it is something when exactly also the discussion I had yesterday with sometimes I
Okay.
say my younger self because there's a lot of similarities. She's 28 right now. I do recognize a lot, and it's wonderful. I can recommend it to everybody to be reversed mentored by somebody younger because you learn so much from it. But what I see is when you're younger in your career, you really I was super ambitious and I wanted to work hard and I had all the energy to work, 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 work. And I was really very much in my head when I worked. And when you develop yourself in leadership, that journey your first question started about pivotal moments. When you develop your journey in leadership, you know that at a certain point, it's not sustainable to be always in your head. And it's really good for difficult decisions to take some distance sometime, to take some more time. So how do I manage my well-being is to realize I cannot be always on. I have to take downtime, even in a super busy day. I have to make sure I have that half hour or hour somewhere to take a bit of distance and say, okay, because otherwise you make decisions too much in my executive coach calls it your frontal cortex. So you're too much here in your head, and that's not good. It has to sink in. And so it's very important to schedule those moments in your day. And what I also try to do at the end of the week, after a very busy week, is to have the moments on Friday to spend more casual time with the team, even if it's online. To spend more time for a walk in the forest to reflect on the week. Did we achieve the top milestones for this week we said we would do? Were we focused enough? Are we focused for the next week? What's my priorities for next week? And that really helps. So if you want to manage your well-being, then you really have to manage your own agenda. And then on the personal side, I do a lot of workouts. So I really like
Yeah.
also active workouts.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was interesting looking at your background as well, because I think sometimes like burnout is it's not physical. You're not physically burnt out. You're actually just exhausted
Yeah.
from the task that you're doing. And I see from your background that you have many other investments, women in AI that we're referencing, mentorship, etc. And these things actually can really fire up the motivation and energy from a different source that you sort of bring back into your core purpose, don't you? And I find sometimes it's not. It's finding inspiration and getting passions from other parts that you can bring back in.
Yes, and last Monday evening, we were. I was jury member for Women in AI and their Accelerate program. And Women in AI has chapters everywhere. The Dutch or Benelux chapter now is one of the largest ones in the world, and they have an Accelerate program where we help women. With ideas to get their startup going. It's very much at the beginning of
Oh,
the process. Um, I do have to promote this a little bit because it's important that we have a diversity in artificial intelligence. Otherwise, it's a small heterogenic group who develops everything and builds the companies. And what we still see from an investment perspective is that very little percentage of women, just 2-3%, start their businesses in this area. And then when they have to go to funding, it's even worse because the funding they get compared to some of their male colleagues who start a business, it's also much smaller, and there's still some bias there. So we have this group together to help them to, in a safe environment, have their startup. The ideas you see, Thomas, they were amazing. It's like so many things I would implement, for example, in this TIC industry or any industry right away. When you just take the time for people to develop their talent and come forward. And it also keeps me super fresh on what's going on in startup world, what's going on in technology world, so I can take that back to my job also. And it's exactly like you say. I'm actually tired after the day, but then I go over there because I already had it's a double work day basically. Then I arrive there at the end of the day. I leave at 10 o'clock in the evening, and I'm invigorated with energy. So it's exactly like you say. That's about managing your own energy, and it doesn't matter how much hours you sometimes make. You have to look at what gives me energy, what costs me energy.
completely agree. So we got the final question, and it'll take looking back. So if you look back in time and give your 21-year-old self advice, what would that be?
Um, don't worry too much, and I would give that advice to any 21-year-old. Stop worrying. You know, you're also less important than you think you are. So sometimes we think, oh, this person is looking at me, or they're having an opinion about me, or if I fail, what's going to happen? I'm going to look like a fool. You're not that important, you know. So stop worrying. Do what you lose the fear to fail, and just move forward with your passions. And don't let any concern hold you back, because it's easier than you think if you just let that go.
Yes, good advice. I've taken a note, so thank you for that. Awesome. Well, look, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, thank you for getting into the detail on both personal and professional topics. And hopefully, we'll see you again at some point.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Have a very nice day.
Thanks, Denelise.